Probably I started a bit early. Good morning to you all. Hi, DRK. Good morning. Madhavi. Hi, good morning. Muhammad Ishaq. Katam Ashok Kurma. Good morning to you all. Madhukar Anu K. Rao. Good morning. Hi, Anu. Good morning to you. Gopal Patel. Good morning. Ranga Satam, Arbaz Parvez, Safwan Muhammad. Good morning to you all. Hi, Subhash. Kalai Vanakkam. Nagasai Baba. Good morning. Hi, Lakshmi. Good morning to you. Amit Barmane. Good morning to you all. Hi, Sridhar Babu. Good morning. Prakash Kumar. KGK Garu, Namaste. Good morning, sir. Welcome. Manjunath Patil. Subramanyam. Aula. Good morning to you all. Ravindra Babu. Ganjam. Ravi Bhaskar. Patta. Malakondaya from Om Shri Builders. Hanmant Reddy Garu, good morning. Oh, yeah. Overseas call. Okay. That's good. Venkatesh Babu, good morning. Vanan. Ashika Patida. Vinayak Dalvi. Sunil Farkia. Kartikeyan Murugesan. Ashok Sharma, good morning to you all. Jai Chandur Konala. Pratik Vekaria, good morning to you. Syed Ikram, good morning. VN Hiremat, good morning to you. MK Bandari. Nitesh Dwivedi, good morning. RM Damgir, Ramesh Kita, Metla Srinivas Rao, Jitendra Patel, good morning to you all. Ganesh Nimje, yeah, good morning. Madhu Reddy, Edunandan, hello sir, good morning. Shabar Noori, yeah, you can see in YouTube as well as Facebook again, Shabar Noori, yesterday's class. Hi Dheeraj, good morning. Hi Srinu Atluri. Kishore Dugirala, good morning to you all. Satish Raja Kandalam Mutyala Prabha, good morning to you all. Latish Naidu. Shalom CP, Dr. Mahesh Chogle. Hi Gaurinath, good morning. Anil Kumar Manda. Hi Subramaniam, good morning. Welcome to you. Pavan Ladaker. Hi Ashok Kumar, good morning. Vidya Bandari. Srinivas P. Mahesh Tanksale. Hi Tamil Selvan, good morning. We'll start in another 2 minutes. Good morning to you all. Kamesh Rao garu, namaskar. Welcome, sir. You are most regular and punctual. Kamesh Rao. Dada Saheb Deshmukh, Yogesh Lambate, Shabar Noori, Rupesh Jha, Srinivas Rao, Manikanta P. Mudoy, Hari Prasad, Anil Reddy Gonnuru. Welcome to you all. Good morning. We are on the 24th day in lecture series and 4th lecture in the series 2. Karunakaran, Amar Katavkar, Manish Bandela. Yeah, namaskar. Naveen Bingi, Sandeep Kumar, Pradesh D. Good morning and welcome to you all. Yeah, Ashok Kumar, Amit Rangire, Upender Kokkanti, Ravinder Shekhar, Yash, Kenvasara, Nandyal Yashwant Reddy, Hi Abdul Kalam. Good morning and welcome to you all. Hi Venugopal. We'll start now. This is another long topic as usual, and it's a very important topic as far as I am concerned. Housing. Any civil engineer should think first about housing to utilize his knowledge and impart his knowledge for the benefit of the human beings. Because after food and clothing, housing is the most important thing for any human being. And now today we are covering about mass housing, affordable housing and dignity homes. And policies of the government, planning, design and delivery of this housing, and importantly in the current context of housing for all by 2022, present national mission by the government. We are very close to 2022, another 2 years, and it's a big challenge before everyone to deliver this housing for needy people. So I'll cover about housing needs and essential requirements and mass housing. My involvement in Janapriya and MAP, Married Accommodation Project, Cyber City, and we have done about 2 lakh, there are 2 lakh houses requirement every year per city approximately. That is the mass requirement. And affordable housing, we will cover about policy and Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation and Telangana State Housing Corporation, AP Housing Corporation, my experiences, and affordable housing, how they have failed earlier and causes and remedy for future, and affordable housing through technology. This is what I mainly cover today. The delivery, quality, procurement, access, cost for builders and developers. So housing, there is a rising demand, as we all know, due to urbanization, one reason, and the changing lifestyle. That means everybody who is owning a house also wants to change his house because of his rising economic conditions and changing lifestyle needs. But we can see there are so many reports where there is a mismatch between demand and supply. There are almost like 2 crore houses which are not occupied or idle due to there are no tenants and they are all investors ownership actually. That means there is nobody living, they are locked. And there is a shortage of 2 crore houses directly, minimum. So there is a mismatch. There are people who are living in huts, hutments or slums or bastis, and there are houses, good houses, which are not occupied. So there is a mismatch. So it's a challenge for policymakers to convert this into usable, occupiable houses, and then need for proper survey of demand for housing. So this is one of the solutions that can resolve these unoccupied houses. And we have seen so many housing schemes in the past, like Rajiv Swagriha, that is mass housing for middle income groups, higher middle income groups, and Indirama Gruhalu, EWS, economic weaker sections. And we have found that there is only 10% utilization of these schemes actually. In the last 2 decades, people, either these projects are not completed, or they are not occupied, or they are not in occupable condition. so many problems. So need to rehabilitate these projects. So it's one opportunity civil engineers can see, make proposals, study these. In fact, I guided some BTech projects and made some summer interns study on these things. And improper master plan and lack of connectivity. This is the major big problem for non-occupying of these houses. Improper planning and need for robust, resilient policy that can take care of all these things. So this is my introduction to this topic, how we are going to take it forward. So these are all some of the mass housing projects like Delhi Development Authority. This is one, actually 50,000 houses. If they open bookings, they will be booked in 2-3 days actually. That is the kind of demand in Delhi and NCR region. So huge demand, but big challenge is the cost. DDA has more demand because DDA pricing is close to the reachable, affordable range. And these are all the DDA colonies built, so Dwarka and all huge developments. We can see this is also Dwarka, and this is Tata Housing is another company. Like that, so many companies. I'm just giving example of mass housing, how companies like Tata Housing, Godrej, Puravankara, they are all coming up with mass housing for targeting middle income groups. And if you take in Hyderabad, we have Janapriya, Modi Builders, Modi Properties, so many companies who are addressing the needs of these middle income groups. But none of them are targeting lower income and EWS. So that becomes the responsibility of the government. So these are all Tata Housing, and this is in Delhi. And in Delhi, Bharat also, Bharat Constructions and all. So now there is a need for policy for affordable housing, because it is a big challenge to provide housing to poor people. Poor people means those who are having income less than, say, 20,000 per month, and they don't have a house to live. So it's very difficult for them to pay rent and travel, conveyance cost and all. And the housing finance also don't finance them because of their all these disorganized sector people. They don't get loans because they don't have proof of income or stable income to prove. So that's why Government of India has come into the aid of these people. Policies earlier also, there are so many policies we have seen but not served the purpose. Even today, in every city, we have 28 to 30% of population living in slums or bastis, disorganized sector. So there are issues in the development of affordable housing because of the regulatory constraints, lengthy approval and land use conversion process, and lack of clarity in building bylaws for affordable housing particularly, and continuation of archaic laws and policy framework and regulations for affordable housing. This I am talking about prior to 2014. Though there are so many urban renewal missions and urban housing and habitat policies, they have not served the purpose. And the private players are distancing from this below 10 lakh product. Many players, there are some players who are addressing this, but still it is a big challenge meeting the demand of housing for people who have income levels less than 20,000 level. So major hubs of affordable housing development are they're away from the city because of the land cost constraints. So land cost is the biggest constraint when it comes to affordable housing, because if you see developers talk about 50-50, 60-40 kind of thing. That means if your construction cost is 2,000 rupees, your selling cost will be 4,000 rupees. And if you are constructing at least 600 square feet, it will cost you 24 lakhs. Tell me how anybody, a person drawing 20,000 rupees, his eligibility for loan will not be more than 10 lakh rupees. So it should be below 10 lakh rupees, the cost of the product. So tell me now, the major constraint is land component. And the lands are not available within the city limits, within 25-30 kilometers, anywhere in the developed metros. So that is the challenge we have to talk about today. So income levels and housing, we can see this is a old report, so that's why it's not very clear, but I will try to explain the points. So here it is the major hubs of affordable housing, the distances. This is a chart given. I have shared this PDF, you can see there. So this is the distances in each city. How far is it from the main center of the city? So if you go to Bombay, it goes as far as 150 kilometers. And so in Hyderabad, if you see, it is 30 to 40 kilometers, like that. So we have seen the boost for affordable housing as landowners in MHADA join hands. So the one working model is the landowners to be made partners in the development. And another model is NGOs coming forward to make land available for this affordable housing. So, Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. This is the ministry in central government. They have come up with a mission in order to expand institutional credit flow to the housing needs of urban poor, and they will implement the credit-linked subsidy, CLSS. By now, most of you must be aware, the government is willing to give subsidy to these poor people who have income levels less than 6 lakhs per annum. So that's what different policies. Why we should know about it, you may ask me, but it's important for us, the designers, also to know, because we know which product to design for our clients by knowing this information. By eligibility, whenever we design a product, it's not that we just design 1000 square feet, 1200 square feet, like that, because ultimately the cost of construction we have to keep in mind, the cost of land we have to keep in mind, and size of the product, so that we can reach out to the target segment in that area, in that location. So this is the thing. So credit linked subsidy scheme by the central government. This is all available in the website of HUPA, Ministry of Housing, and you can see this, but for the benefit of viewers, I am reading this because the subsidy rate, interest subsidy, total interest they calculate in the entire 20 years and give a subsidy of 6.5% of that interest, which will work out to about 2% interest rate reduction in the overall cost. So the eligibility of the buyer will go up. So the credit linked subsidy can be available for loan amounts up to 6 lakhs. You can buy a property costlier than 6 lakhs, but the subsidy is given for an amount of 6 lakhs interest on 6 lakhs only. So we will know, and the carpet area of houses being constructed under this component should be up to 30 square meters and 60 square meters. So this is the limit. After this, they have relaxed these limits also, which we will see. So now coming to this, if you are having subsidy beyond 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs, income beyond 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs, your subsidy will come down to 4% from 6.5%. And if your income is 12 lakhs to 18 lakhs, the subsidy will come down to 3%. But subsidy is there, and subsidy is on an amount of 6 lakhs. And housing loans above 9 lakhs and 12 lakhs will be at non-subsidized rates. So this is what is the important point we must note. So this will give us an idea of planning. And CLSS for MIG will support acquisition, construction of housing, purchase of 90 square meters and 110 square meters carpet area as per income eligibility. So this is the important. So we can plan 90 square meters and 110 square meters also. This is what is our target today, to discuss planning housing for these areas: 30 square meters, 60 square meters, 90 square meters and 110 square meters. So design criteria for mass housing is any amount of cost reduction exercises cannot provide the solution for housing everybody, because the eligibility, we are talking about poorest of the poor actually. I'll be sharing that details. And the task is to evolve design strategies which allow the individual to participate once again in the building process actually. So we should bring in the people who could not acquire a property. So the fundamental requirements of shelter are the same for rich and poor. This is another important point I want to share in planning. In fact, for the poor people, we should design housing such that the maintenance is least, because they are the people who spend 2 hours travel up and 2 hours travel down, and they work for 9 hours to 10 hours. We expect in our office lower segment of the people to work more. This is always happening. So they will spend 14 hours in overall work itself. So when do they have time to maintain their house? So we have to plan the housing such that the finishes such that we will give them lesser maintenance requirement for their house. So government has also approved the BMTPC, Building Materials Technology Promotion Council. BMTPC has come up with technologies, because they have also realized in the past, if you see the old economically weaker section housing, EWS housing, we see that the quality is very bad. There are no amenities. This was all happening because they were resorting to conventional methods. So here I have shared the 5 technologies that are approved: stay-in-place formwork, and prefabricated concrete, that is precast, and monolithic concrete, that is MY1, light gauge steel structural LGS system, that is also pre-engineered steel buildings, and EPS based panel systems, expanded polystyrene. So these are all the 5 technologies approved by the Government of India to be that can be adopted in affordable housing. But we have got a study report in Andhra Pradesh where they have constructed sample houses of 21 technologies different, and they have shown 2 models, one without completing and one after completion. They have taken the survey of people to visit these houses before completion and after completion, and taken the feedback. They got the best feedback for 2 and 3. That means prefabricated concrete construction, precast, and monolithic concrete. Apart from conventional anyway, but conventional, it is always a challenge to deliver the housing in the given time at the cost constraint that we have. So it is the challenge for the government, and government also encourages slum rehabilitation. So that means in situ rehabilitation means you convince the slum dwellers to participate in the reconstruction of these slums and rehabilitate them in the same area, because the land cost is so high, and because of the slum the land cost also will go down. So we can convince, do the survey, convince these slum dwellers, and take up that land, make them partners in that redevelopment, and then give them better housing with better amenities. This also Government of India allows. So identification of the slums, bastis, and government housing areas. This we have done a survey. You can see I have this is done by students in Smart Infresh. This is the survey report of the students who have done 2 years back in Hyderabad. They have done survey of the slums. So they have come up with a report which is viable to convert these slums into reusable and profitable areas. So we have this GHMC report also, where there are 1,476 slums in Hyderabad, out of which 1179 are notified. The total slum area, please note, 80.45 square kilometers. It is like a big city, but they are all dispersed, of course. But we can see this, and which is 12% of the total GHMC area. About GHMC area is about 600 square kilometers. And we have 12% of the land in slums only. And the total slum population is 19,51,000, which is almost like 28.65% of the population. And the total number of households in the slums is 4.6 lakhs. And we have done the study, road condition, power supply. You can see here, 54% is not satisfied at all. 23% is average, and 23% is okay, good. And in power supply, 34% is okay, average 33% and not satisfying. Power, because without that people can't live, so they somehow managed to make the power available. Next is the water supply, and 39% is not satisfying, average 37%, that means 76% is not good at all. 19% is good and 5% is very good. And drainage, coming to drainage, it is 47% not satisfying. This is the worst thing actually in these slums and bastis. And average is 46%. So 93% is gone. There is no drainage, proper drainage. So this I will spend some time. Here you can see the condition of the slums. This is one of the slums in Hyderabad. It's a real photograph of a slum. Can you imagine how people can live in such places? Of course, Mumbai also will have the similar, and any city, you go to the slums. So here you can see the developed buildings and the slum nearby. In every city, you will see slums in the most developed areas because the rich people want working people nearby. We want our housemaid, servant maid to come and work in the morning 6 o'clock. How they can come if they are living 2 hours away from our city? So they will make slums nearby to our places only. So it is the responsibility of all of us, of all the governments, mainly policy makers, and the engineers should support these policy makers to come up with a way out for these people's living. It has to, of course, it cannot be done overnight, but it is also our responsibility. So these are some of the other photographs, so-called high-tech city in Hyderabad. So close to high-tech city, we have this kind of condition. And this is another slum. And this is called Basti in Hyderabad. I'm sure in every city there will be this kind of places. They are not slums actually, but they are, I name it as unplanned, undeveloped aborigines habitat. That is the meaning of Basti actually. In English, if you have to say, unplanned, undeveloped aborigines of habitat. The streets in this kind of development will be 10 feet, 6 feet also. It is a typical nature in Hyderabad. We have many bastis like this in Hyderabad. I'm sure you will see in every city. Now, what is the status? Okay, we have seen the condition of people who are living in horrible condition. So, economic weaker sections in combined state of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, because I did the study some 6-7 years back on affordable housing. So, I found that if they have planned 6 lakhs units in a period of decade, for example, only 60,000 are registered and occupied. That means 5,40,000 have become waste, rubble, unoccupied, unregistered, incomplete. This is the status. And similarly, in the current AP government PMAY, there are only 25% of contracts which have achieved. That means if they have planned 4 lakh houses, 1 lakh house, if they have awarded contract for 4 lakh houses, only 1 lakh houses have reached the stage of 90% completion, even at exorbitant cost. And in Telangana, we found that 1 lakh houses in urban and 1 lakh in rural, 2 lakh houses, they have reached reasonably good. We'll discuss the reason why it could be done. And engineers shall push for housing scheme completion. This is the statement I am making. It is for all engineers who are working in government, private and corporate segment to help, because it is our responsibility as professionals to deliver housing for people in India who are needy. And we have completing 73 years of independence, and 30% urban population living in pathetic conditions. That means if in Hyderabad we have 1 crore population, 30 lakh people are in bad condition living. So it's unfortunate to note the poor people housing also is for money spinning only, and creating rubble and antisocial dens in the name of affordable housing, sending thousands of crores of public money into the drain. I can give so many examples. So this is the basis for our thinking and working. So human engineering, I call this. Everybody may not make money in this, but it is human to think about this. That is, civil engineers should be responsible and also see opportunity in this misery to bring life into these millions of households through inclusive growth. This is my statement today. That means we can see an opportunity in this problem and we can work for this. Money earning is not the aim, but giving solution to these people's lives. They're all human beings. We should think of them to give them reasonable, respectable, dignity homes for all of them, which we can do if we all work for it. So today's topic is this. I am going to explain details about this. So there is a policy of the government which encourages private-public partnerships. That means the government, we can tie up with people, corporates. You can take a lead to bring them, convince them, and convince the people. Don't depend on the government itself. And we can work for convincing the slum dwellers and basti people to convert the to convert into slum rehabilitation, and bring in the corporates who can invest and do this, and let us do the planning and design. So there are so many schemes for affordable housing projects with public-private partnerships. So this is Model B, and we have Model A is a private-public partnership with private land-based subsidized housing CLSS scheme for EWS, LIG and MIG. So private land also we can convert into this. So whoever has land who wants to convert, we can make the proposal under AHP, go to the government and convert into affordable housing. So this is also private land-based subsidized housing for EWS, Model B. So where the government will become the main implementing agency. So this is the project structure. We can involve with in fact I am working on this to do this. So that's my experience. We can achieve this if all engineers work for it and plan for it. So what we have done is in mass housing, we have done Janapriya, Saket, Manjira, Sanjana, Modi clients. We have done mass housing. So we have an experience of 20-30 million square feet of affordable housing in and Cyber City also we have advised, and government projects. We have worked for married accommodation project which is about 1,000 crores plus value, and Telangana housing we have worked for policy for 1 lakh houses to bring in the technology neutral and implemented about 4,000 houses. And in AP, we have advised for 60,000 houses procurement, housing at a saved cost. And Maharashtra, we have done the advisory in Nagpur for 50,000 houses. Tamil Nadu, we have done, and we have guided the BTech project and summer internships on slum rehabilitation, how it can be made viable. And we have also worked for private-public partnership projects, preparing DPR in Andhra Pradesh. So this is the affordable housing implementation. This is the presentation we made to the government. So these are the options. Each site, one package will make it 250 packages. Option 1. Option 2 is 4 or 5 sites into one package will make it 1,500 units as one package. Option 3 is average 4,000 houses into one package, that will make it 25 packages. So we have worked out 1 lakh houses how to deliver in 18 months. So about 100 contracts to be awarded, that is average of 1,000 units. So multiple contracts, item rate, quantity variations, bill certification, quantity issues, litigation, ambiguity, contract management. This is the experience in past in EWS housing. So we have seen it's a big challenge to deliver the projects of this size. Then we have gone for lump sum contract for buildings, technology neutral, and services, MEP, external, compound wall, roads and foundation units to be part of this, and appoint DPR consultants, DEPMC, and technical and financial bid and consultant to monitor. Then milestones will be model flat, foundation, structure, finishes and infrastructure. each stage there should be a penalty if the contractor doesn't complete. And so this is so we have promised we'll bring in the workable contract model and contractors with a pre-qualification and joint ventures to be allowed for technology provider, and this is implemented. So design considerations for the project in affordable housing is, we have seen in the past the failures are because there is no study of the requirements of the people and their expectations and aspirations. So family interaction, group interaction, the neighborhood, water, waste management and energy management and microclimate management and finance management. These are all the things we have to study when we are planning this affordable housing. So family interaction, I'll not go into every detail, but we should know that we should provide space for family interaction, that is living areas, corridors and all that, and a place for community interactions, community center and food restaurants and all that. And this is the group interaction, open spaces where groups can meet, particularly in India, play areas like cricket and all that we should create. And the relationship between neighboring houses, access being chosen for some good reason. That means they have to be able to meet each other and provide nursery school, primary health center and minimum things. Number of houses provide support shops at natural pressure points. That means every affordable housing should have minimum amenities. We talk about gated communities where we provide convenience shopping and all. Why not for affordable housing? So that is all considered in Hyderabad, shops and minimum convenience shopping. So social criteria, and then emergency access for vehicles. That means ambulance and all for a health requirement, and safe for children and women to walk up to their house after the dark time. That means street lighting and all. The scale of the roads, open space, sympathetic to the scale of houses. That means road widths required for the population, that also has to be provided. We see that affordable housing means they will relax all the norms, which is not good actually for the growth of that development. So are the larger open spaces located at natural pressure points in the layout so that their maintenance can easily be organized by the community. So people's participation is very important, and we should create self-sustained development model where it can be maintained. Maintenance is the biggest challenge in this affordable housing because they can't afford, like in higher income groups, 2 rupees per square feet and all that. So we have to, in Hyderabad, affordable housing, they have developed a 10-year maintenance, self-sustenance actually. That means the space created will get the rentals for the society, and that rentals will take care of the maintenance. That can be worked out. So we can plan all this. So design of houses should be to maximize the possible house types. That means we should cater to all the requirements: single bedroom, 2 bedroom and family houses. So water, waste, energy and environment criteria. So we have to have definitely sewage treatment and recycling, because the cost of water is very, and disposal of solid waste and sewage also should be, and recycling of the storm water. These are all the important criteria we have to keep in mind while planning. So that means whatever budget we talk about for the construction should take care of all these needs. So garbage management and long-term quality and quantity of water supply. So by recycling for flushing and gardening, you can reduce the water demand so that you'll get the quality water. So physical component, cohesive group of 400 to 500 families, one group you should create. And housing density of 85 to 100 families per hectare, and land requirement, it will be about 5 to 6 hectares within the city. That means about 12.5, 15 acres. And average plot size should be 40 square meters, and area of the house is up to 30 square meters. And land allotted to community facilities like kindergarten, and primary school and community center, temple, mosque, and other prayer halls, and health and family planning clinics, and land for roads, footpaths, parks, and open spaces, and land allotted for plots. So cost of the land and subsidy for the land and all that. This we have done the working. Now to deliver these projects, we have done the study. We have taken a report where, because investments are there for affordable housing by the government, by the housing HUDCO, they are investing, lending money for this affordable housing. So there are so many foreign construction companies coming up with cutting edge technologies, and there is a demand supply gap which we have seen. Break away from convention so that we'll be able to meet that fast supply of the project. And mega projects in affordable housing will go up to 105,000 acres. We should make the townships, and diminishing skill levels in the construction will lead to mechanization. This always, it's a challenge to mobilize workers. We have been discussing in construction, and a shrinking project delivery. There is a planning commission report in 2012. You can see that the average construction period, average project delivery period of any project is 5 years, which is very bad. And it is the shrinking project delivery. We can see you can study, there are so many projects going into arbitration, delays, and funding delayed or funds diverted, all these causes. So it is always better to plan projects in a shorter duration. That means don't exceed beyond 2 years. Maximum 2 years should be completed from DPR, administrative sanction, to delivery of the project handing over. 2 years you should plan. How it is possible, such large scale project? It is only possible because of technology. So this is our basis we should discuss. So identify right approach to implementation of each product. There is unique solution for each size and location. So it's not that there can be a generic technology that you can adopt for. So we have seen that precast and wall and slab system, and that is rigid monolithic construction and precast are the most viable solutions accepted widely. And both alternatives need less number of skilled workers and less scope of quality dilution or more assured quality. So this is a presentation we have made. Precast concrete has multiple technologies like upgrade, battery mold, tilting table, carousel. Like Tata Housing in Bangalore, they have, for 3 million square feet to be delivered in 30 months, they have adopted this carousel technology, battery mold, carousel combination. They have delivered. And static table, modular construction, precast machinery is made in India now, so we can acquire the machinery in a short time. So this is the feasibility we have done. And so the demand and supply, we have seen engineers challenge, and for this precast and training and all is necessary. Skilled workers availability is also very less. 15% of the required skilled workers are available. Unskilled workers also there is a shortage. And so we have done the survey. Affordable housing precast acceptance is highest actually. Residential high-rise buildings 28% and commercial buildings 37%. This is the survey we have done for acceptance of precast technology. And institutional buildings 23% and other categories 12%. So reduction in taxation for precast also is possible. Precast technology as a compulsory subject, we have found that government should introduce these policies, promotion of green building technology, quality driven agenda, and making precast technology mandatory. These are all the things we have come up with. So in affordable, we have seen already successful delivered projects in Mumbai, Boivada, and this is another project. And this is private projects also. Precast technology is adopted and modular systems are available, we have seen. And this is another photograph of combination of modular and panel system. And these are all the large panel systems which we can use in housing particularly. And slabs also can be large panel that we can use. And the joints treatment, because everybody talks about joints, I'm just sharing how we treat the joints and how we interlock the wall panels, structural wall panels, and casting of the wall panel. This is the tilting table. You can lift the wall panel like this, demolding, and transportation of these wall panels, and lifting and erection of the wall panels. So this is a model house in Chennai constructed, and this is the model flat interior. You can see the quality that we can deliver in precast. I'll also show, and these footings also precast. And planning for housing, I'm just showing the comparison of a conventional house with a 230 brick wall. The plinth area will come to 31.76 for the same carpet area. And if we go for shear wall with 125 mm thick, same house with same internal dimensions, it will 5304, 5324, it will come to 29.6 square meters. And if you go for precast for the same with 100 mm thick wall, in precast 100 mm is possible because of the quality and precasting with concrete quality and structural capacity, and we can achieve 28.6. And this is the schematic 3D view, and I have videos also for this. If you want, I can share. I am not showing here the video of construction stages in precast construction. And plans, this is another EWS Dignity Homes. This is the planning we have done with the 28.69 square meters unit area without common area added. And this is the west facing, and this is how each block. We found that 16 units per floor is ideal thing combination for G+3. And this is another EWS G+3 with the 40 square meters. That means you can see there are 2 rooms, 1 bedroom and 1 study room, and you have kitchen, utility and all that, 40 square meters. And this is the 16 units again for 40 square meters. And this is the 3D view of that 16 square meters. Just for an idea, this is not. And EWS G+3, another 60 square meters model with 2 bedrooms, full 2 bedroom, with the 2 toilets and a kitchen. This is the entry living. So 60 square meters plinth area, 9 by 6. That means 9.3 by 6.5 meters. So that will work out to 60 square meters of plinth. In that, we can get this kind of convenient housing, 2 bedroom. And this is the unit plan. When you go for bigger units, you should not provide common walls. So we have separated. So still it is 12 units per floor. And this is also G+3. G+3 is taken to reduce the cost basically. And this is a layout with all common amenities, common parks, with whatever concept I have explained. That is common groups and community groups. And then they will have separate play area, tot lot, and common amenities for all the people. So this is one concept we have developed. And this is another concept, Dignity Homes model. And we did the cost comparison also for all the area statement for comparison land required. And this is another model. Obviously, this requires more land, but it looks better and more convenient, and everyone will have access to the central park easily. So this is another model. So budget also, we did the costing for all precast construction, including the taxes and plant and machinery. We estimated for a 50-acre development, what will be the common amenities cost? It will work out to 200 rupees per square feet. 200 rupees per square feet. And the government, central government gives 75,000 rupees for common amenities for this affordable housing, apart from subsidy. And this is the precast plant we estimated to set up, to deliver this project in 18 months. What is the precast plant cost required? That is 24 crores, out of which you can write off only 8 crores and 16 crores you can recover. So the cost of precast will be loaded only 8 crores for the plant. And we have estimated the total cost for the building 147 crores and it is working out to per square feet cost. I'll show you, and this is the schedule. So total delivery of the project, and then we have worked out the schedule for precast option, RCC shear wall option, and brick wall option, that is conventional. So based on this, we have worked out some projects in Andhra Pradesh. This is the master planning for a huge development of 350 acres, and we have given the DPR with the costing for these projects. So satellite townships with self-sufficient, with all the amenities like preschooling, primary, high school, junior college, hospital, and bus station, police station and fire station, post office, commercial complexes, all planned in this development, 350 acres township. And we have given the concept cost for all these developments also. So this is the pilot project also planned for this. We don't harp on 350 acres. We started with 15 acres pilot project, and it has received very good response from the people for this pilot project, where the developer proposed to sell at a cost of square feet 1,500 rupees, private development. So this is for the EWS and lower income groups. So this is carpet area is 70 square meters. We have planned, because up to 90 square meters we can have this CLSS scheme in rural areas outside the corporation limits. This is middle income groups and higher income groups. This is the one. And for higher income groups we have planned 107, because 110 is the limit. 110 square meters is the limit for higher income group. So we have planned 107 square meters. So these are the unit plans with 3 bedrooms in 110 square meters carpet. And this is the block plan specifications. And for MIG, HIG, EWS, LIG, we have given different costing. And this is the overall cost of the project. And then we have worked out the selling price. EWS, LIG will come to 1250, and MIG, HIG will come to 1575. This is cost of construction. And proposed sale price 1450 for EWS, LIG, and 2200 for MIG, HIG. This is the costing we have done. So we can develop these projects by planning properly, by proper master plan and construction technology, all these things. So these are all the details. I will not go into this. I want to quickly go into the project case study, construction cost and construction technology that we have really adopted. So these are all the layouts we have done in Hyderabad for affordable. This is the project case study I want to share with you. So this is the 4,000 housing units, approximately 3,996 actually. And this is the layout of 20 acres, in which red is precast, and green is My1, and blue is conventional. You can see blue is conventional. We have given the legend here. So we have done precast construction, My1 and conventional in the same site. All 3 technologies. And cost of construction is 1,285 rupees per square feet. Total saleable area is 2.5 million square feet. Actual constructed area is more than 3 million. And precast, rigid monolithic construction, and conventional. And building height is 2 stilts plus 9 floors. These 2 stilts will have the shopping, parking, scooter parking and all. And this is the model. And this is the concept design we developed. So this is the 3D view given before commencement of construction. For all 3 technologies, same design, so that people won't be able to make out which technology it is constructed. So this is the photo after completion, before handing over actually, but we have taken, so Indrajit Mehta is the contractor, GHMC is the implementing agency, and in 20 acres this project is completed in exactly 18 months. It could have been completed in 12 months, but for the funding delays by the government. So this is the plan. As I told, red is the precast, and here red is precast, and this is conventional. Purple is conventional, and this blue is my one here. So this is the 3D view of that. All this is precast blue, and this is my one, and this is what you call conventional. So the construction foundations, stiff foundations with the reinforcement, these are all the stiff foundations because it is a wall and slab construction, shear wall completely. For both my one and precast, we have used the same shear wall and slab system. So these are the plinth walls erected, you can see up to the plinth level from the foundation. And these are the dowels from the plinth wall to the stilt walls, shear walls. These are the dowels left. And these are the dowels level. So plinth wall is already backfilled here, you can see. And here conventional is going on, you can see. I want to show you both conventional and precast are completed at the same time. So here it is the foundation concrete being done, and here also foundation concrete being done, and after foundation plinth wall dowels and plinth wall erection, and adjacent is conventional column beam slab system. So you can see the shuttering. So I have proposed these 3 technologies to the contractor. Contractor initially was very hesitant to do this. He was skeptical that he can deliver precast mein problems aayega, all that he was telling. But ultimately, after completion of this project, when I referred another project to this contractor, he asked me, please allow 3 technologies. So that is the success of this project actually. Initially, the same contractor who has opposed 3 technologies in one side is now asking, because we have planned, envisaged risk mitigation in labor mobilization, material procurement, and construction schedule, all that we could achieve the desired time and cost levels and without risk of safety of the people. So this is the project, you can see, erection of the large wall panels. And this is above the plinth wall panels, and this is the during construction going on here. And here conventional brickwork is over, precast still we are doing the erection here. Yeah, it is the same actually. We have spent the same cost, 1,285 rupees for all 3 technologies, Srinivas. And this is the, I tell you, these last 4 blocks are completed in 4 months in precast. This is real. 4 months erection and finishes. 4 blocks completed. So that is the advantage of precast. You can make up the time schedules while conventional will smoothly go on for 18 months, and this will make up the time lost within 4 months. That is the advantage of precast. So here also you can see my one, and here my one going on here. This is the my one shuttering, wall and slab only. And this is the photograph of the entire site, 20 acres. You can see all conventional, precast, my one going on parallelly. See, we had to do 2 slabs every day in conventional. That means we had 15 blocks. Each block 11 floors, that means 165 slabs. If we do every day 1 slab also, 165 days it will take. That means more than 6 months, almost 6 months it will take. So for structure, after structure, brickwork and all, it will take another 4 months. So that is the challenge in conventional actually. So the contractor had to mobilize 8 sets of shuttering. 8 sets of shuttering for this project. And whereas my one, we had 2 sets of shuttering. With 2 sets, we delivered 8 blocks in a shorter time. And we have achieved 6 days cycle in my one and a 3 days cycle in precast. That means every 3 days, 1 floor is done. That is the kind of thing. So parallelly, we are having 10-day cycle in conventional, 6-day cycle in my one, and 3-day cycle in precast. So now you can see how we can adjust the schedule, resource optimization and all. That is what we have done. So here you can see the my one reinforcement is tied, and then we'll put the services and all that, and behind it is precast, already erected. You can see the joints and all that. So this is the project. In the same project we had the my one and the precast. So this is the photograph of all the blocks you can see. And this is nearing completion, whereas the other last four blocks are being done in 4 months. So this is the view of painting started for some blocks, and this is after the completion. I visited the site some 3-4 months back just to see, because we normally don't visit after completion. So can you make out which is precast, which is my one? And definitely the quality of the finish. Here you can see the roads. This is a affordable housing government is giving free of cost to the people. And same time we have handed over all the blocks at the same time. So this is another inside view. Greenery had to be done. So we have gone after completion of the whole thing to see how the finish has come out as a consultant. This is inside of the flat. You can see the precast hollow core joint here. And this is the cement flooring. You can see cement flooring finish. We have done cement flooring. And this is the finish. I'm just checking the wall, whether it is concrete wall or brick wall by touching. We should know only by sound whether it is a concrete wall or brick wall. So this is the thing today I wanted to share, that historically housing for poor has never been delivered. So as an engineer, I feel responsible that we should give better housing for the poor people at a reasonable cost with low maintenance, which is sustainable. So idea of sharing this topic with all the engineers, young engineers, is 73 years we have spent, and we are still leaving 30% of our population in very bad conditions of living. So we should all work for, I am ready to support any of such projects to help completion, cost optimization, technology deployment, and vendor management, procurement, costing, planning, design. All aspects of our construction technology, of our knowledge, can help achieve the dream of these needy people to have their own house in a comfortable living. In fact, when we did the survey, this is a last point I want to share with you. One BTech student who is doing project under me on this affordable housing has gone and did the survey. When she asked the slum dwellers about this affordable housing government is giving free of cost, will you be willing? And that people said they don't have roof on their head, they don't have a 2 square meal a day, and they don't have proper clothes. And still they said, sorry, we are not in a position to trust the government. Even if they promise, they will give. That is the state today of poor people. They are willing to live under pathetic conditions. And you are living in pathetic conditions, but they are not in a willing to accept better house, even if it is promised. So that confidence has to be given by the project implementing authorities and the engineers. We have to work for delivering their need. So this is the topic of the today, and I will conclude today, and we'll meet tomorrow. I'll take some questions now. So thank you very much for joining me today also, and I'm being really encouraged by your active participation. Now I'll take some questions from you. Slum clearance, not yet actually. I have done the feasibility studies, and I am willing to work for it without commercial intent actually. What is the minimum built-up area for 1 BHK, 2 BHK? 1 BHK is 30 square meters, 2 BHK is 40 square meters, and carpet area I'm telling. and 3 BHK is 80 square meters. Engineers are rarely consulted. That is the problem actually. We should convince them. We should go and meet them. That's why I'm sharing the government policy EPS method. Yeah, I can share the video with you. It is available in that website, Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. Shall we get resource planning for this project? Yes, I can share if you send me a direct personal message. Minimum external thickness of precast. Here for 9 floors we have used 150 thick walls. External wall is 150 thick concrete wall. Satish, great initiative. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Anybody? 9-story building, firefighting provided. Yeah, fire fighting is there. Hose reel is provided. As per the norms, we have provided fire safety. Precast slab joints. Yeah, we had the screed above the hollow core panels. Yeah, we could do all technologies in the same cost. Minimum dimensions for the room. Yeah, it is given in National Building Code, minimum dimensions of the room. You can refer to National Building Code. What will be the cost difference between precasting and... See, cost, when we say the material cost of precast will be less than conventional, but technology cost, that is casting, transportation, erection, will be higher for precast. And in conventional, though labor cost is less because it takes more time, the finance cost gets added, almost 50 rupees in the conventional. That means by the time you bill and get your money, it will be taking longer time. In precast, you can bill fast after buying the material. That is the advantage. Cement flooring, yeah, it's not Tremix. It is like mortar flooring only, cement mortar, IPS kind of thing. Safe life duration, yeah, definitely better than conventional. My one is rigid monolithic construction. That means wall and slab will have the shuttering, aluminum shuttering, and then we have the same time concreting slab and wall. So in 6 days we complete 1 floor. That means in 2 months we completed 1 block. Wall thickness is 150 mm for 11 floors. Cost difference between conventional and precast wall construction is almost same, finishing 1280 rupees, ready to occupy price, yeah, except for some external amenities which is paid separately, but lift cost is included in this. That is little higher. GFRP panel cost is higher actually. Marginal profit, yeah, there is a marginal profit for the contractor, 5% you can estimate. And construction, either my one or precast, both are same. As I said, we completed all in the same time. Yeah, thank you, Venkateswaran. I really want youngsters, engineers to work for this conversion of slum into this, and I will help. I can work on that feasibilities. G+1, you can go for 125 thick. Kumaresan. Cement flooring, IPS only. Is there any subsidy? No, there is no subsidy in construction material. Yeah. Only government negotiates the bulk procurement cement and all. So they offer some reduction in the price, but no subsidy. Staircase is also possible. Yeah, we have done that. We have done precast staircase also. Single house construction, road access, if it is there, yes, it is possible. What type of test to be done to check quality in precast? We have PCI, Precast Concrete Institute in US. PCI manual recommends testing of elements. For every 100 element, 1 element you should do the load test. And we have done the load test for the hollow core slabs on site. We have put the load, whatever load it is designed, and monitored the deflection, and then allowed the usage of that elements. It can be used, yeah. Precast, once there is a mass acceptance, precast can be used for even individual houses. No reinforcement change, not much, because minimum criteria govern. How precast construction can resist earthquake? Yeah, it is a shear wall. So we have designed for, so though in Hyderabad it is zone 2, we have designed for it. We have done the dynamic analysis and design. Salary is more. Here, hardware job, engineers, houses, flats, salary. So civil engineers also will earn good money, but not initially, after some time. So civil engineers don't compare with software engineers. Software engineer curve is like this, and curve is like this, and civil engineers curve is like this. We cross them some point, definitely. Should also be provided to skill set to improve quality. Yeah, that's right. Any hair crack issue? No cracks in flooring. We have done it. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining me today also. And tomorrow another interesting topic, interiors. Interiors planning, finishes and implementation. Make any provision like electrical, etc. if we missed out. Yeah, it can be done, but we have achieved. We have done the pre-planning, we have modeled it in Revit 3D and we optimized. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow is interior design and finishes implementation. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Have a safe day with the family. Thank you.